Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Chat podcast live, coming to you on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, hopefully, and Facebook. Andy Evans here, joined as always by my long-time suffering former tag team partner.
I didn't chuck you through a barbershop window, though, so we're okay.
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
Yet.
No. What do you mean, yet? The difference is this time you're in Bournemouth, I'm in Weymouth, so you can't physically chuck us through a barbershop window.
Yeah, we've put some distance between us. It works.
Yeah. How you doing, my friend?
Good stuff. Yeah, I am good. I am lots and lots of projects on the horizon, which you'll probably learn about in the coming weeks and months if you tune into potentially Andy's show, maybe making some guest appearances on there, and also Ministry of Slam that's going to be going big time live. As from this coming Sunday, we're going to be looking at, basically we've been tied to Twitch up until this point. So as from this Sunday, we're going to be on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere that will take a video, I guess, we'll be streaming to. So you can check us out on all those places. So absolutely kind of caning it with all of the last minute prep and all the production and all that kind of stuff. So it's a busy time, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Absolutely. And you're here, of course, to talk Chain of Command tonight. Yeah. Which is that iconic 2-part Star Trek episode where the Borg come and take over. No, it's not.
I was tired. I was really tired when I was saying that. Obviously, Chain of Command, classic episode. And I in the back of my head, I instantly think, it's the one where they had the different captain. And then I think of different captain, and I thought about Riker commanding the Enterprise, which is what happens in Best of Both Worlds. So yeah, my bad. I got that wrong. My apologies, Star Trek fans. Chain of Command is the one with Edward Jellicoe rather than Riker as the captain.
When I heard that on the Ministry of Slam, I couldn't help but chuckle. So I was like, I am just going to ridicule you about that.
That's fine. I mean, I deserve it. That's a rookie error. I shouldn't have got that wrong.
Now, we haven't actually spoken really since the end of 2021. And obviously now we're in 2022. So Happy New Year to you.
Yes, and you.
And last week here on Retro Chat Live, we talked Spider-Man not Homecoming.
You got it wrong.
Yes. I've actually got a bit of an apology to make to anybody who watched that show.
Oh, no.
Because I actually put the wrong graphics up. So I called it Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right, okay, which is the second one, not the third one.
Which is the second one, thanks to someone picking me up on that. Spider-Man No Way Home. You did Ministry of Marvel, which is available on your MOS feed and on YouTube.
Yep.
But, mate, now you've seen it about 959,000 times. What did you think of it?
Just the twice for me at this point, which is I've been restrained. I've only done the two viewings. First time I watched the film was again we say this with when we refer to wrestling, talk about wrestling a lot. When someone debuts or it's teased that someone is about to debut. In this day and age, it is all over the social medias. This person will definitely be here, but until you see them walk through that curtain, there's always that 0.0001% of doubt in your mind that it's actually going to happen. And this was very much the same for me. I tried to avoid spoilers as best I could, but I knew there was some big stuff coming from this film. And again, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Obviously Andrew Garfield comes in as a Spider-Man from another universe. Tobey Maguire comes in from a Spider-Man from another universe. And I don't know if it was the same for you, Andy, but everyone in the cinema was almost like cheering and clapping and all this kind of stuff. And then when the villains came on as well, a really great film. Right up there with Endgame for me in regards to the Marvel franchise.
Where does it stand, though? Because there's been controversy about whether or not it's better than Endgame. I personally think it's possibly the best MCU film they've made.
Yeah.
Some people don't agree, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean, the Spider-Man No Way Home kind of had almost some sort of shock surprises that happened, and they came out of nowhere. Whereas Endgame kind of in a different way, because everything's been building over time, and you've really invested in those characters. So again, spoiler alert, when stuff happens like Tony Stark at the end of Endgame, that hits you on a whole different level because you've known these characters for 10, 12 years by this point. And that really did hit you. But I think it's on a different. It's difficult to compare them. They're both great in their own separate ways. Endgame, classic ending to a brilliant series of movies, and yeah, No Way Home. As a Spider-Man fan, I love Spider-Man when I was a kid.
Yeah.
This really, it really hit the spot for me.
Well, you know what they say: with great power comes great responsibility, and we heard that throughout the film.
We did, and again, I loved all those little things that to sort of tie all the universes together. Really great.
Absolutely. Now we've got a couple of people in comments in the chat room already. I've got a live chat room. It's brilliant. Not had one for many a year. Princess McCat says, "Hey, hi, Princess McCat. How you doing?"
Hello.
On Twitch, and Heads of Steel on Twitch as well says, "Evening, gents," and Princess McCat. If you're listening or watching us anywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, leave us a comment in the chat, and we'll pop it up on screen and potentially react to it, or we might just ignore it depending on what it is.
We could
You
do.
never
We
know.
could do. I mean, before we close off on Spider-Man, Head of Steel just said, "Yeah, here we go. I was impressed on how they were able to incorporate all three Spider-Man versions, and it all made sense, and very much so." And I think the multiverse has almost given Marvel, I don't want to use the term get out of jail free card, but it sort of opens up a lot of parallels where they can easily explain things, or get out of any plot holes that might happen. They've still let a lot of sort of loose ends dangle, especially with the credit scene with Tom Hardy and Venom, and the sort of little chunk of symbiote that's left in the same universe as Tobey Maguire or potentially Andrew Garfield. We don't know. It could be anywhere. Who knows? Now rumors of an Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 3. So who knows what's going to happen?
God, I hope that happens, because I said last week on the show I was never the biggest Garfield fan, but he totally won me over in No Way Home. Cracking
Yeah.
performance, and a really quite a funny portrayal of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in a sarcastic, arrogant type of way. You know?
Yeah, it's all of the things that that those individual actors put into the Spider-Man character. They each of them accentuated that. You had Tobey Maguire kind of as the old school, wiser version of Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield is a bit of a cocky version, which he was criticised for being so cocky when the original two Amazing Spider-Man films came out. And then you've got sort of the young gun, as it were, Tom Holland, being almost sort of close to the comics. A lot younger, high school student, and very much a comic book style Spider-Man. So yeah, really, really good. Can't say enough good things about it.
Well, go and check it out. It's still available at the cinema now. Of course, Disney Plus today on the 12th of January, as we're recording this, released Eternals. That's now available to watch. You can watch that on Disney Plus. And Ghostbusters Afterlife is now on digital.
It is on digital, so you can check that out. Again, another cracking film from 2021. You can't go wrong.
Haven't seen it yet. Need to see it.
Haven't you? Flipping heck.
Nope.
Okay, do you know spoilers?
No.
Okay, good. I won't say anything then, but check it out. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I've got it. It's ready to go. Just need to sit timer and watch it. I lasted maybe 3 weeks before seeing Spider-Man and didn't get spoiled.
Wow, that's good going. Especially, I think it was only 2 weeks until Disney decided they were going to spoil it and start posting about the film on social media. So
yeah, I avoided your show like the plague. I'm not listening to that.
We threw out so many spoiler alerts on there just to make sure that no one heard anything.
I know. Right, shall we do it? Shall we get on with it?
Let's do it. Let's crack on with what we're talking about, which is not Spider-Man, and it's not Star Trek Best of Both Worlds. It is Chain of Command.
Let's go. Well, that's new.
That is new and exciting, isn't it? It makes me feel like I am in the early 90s, December 1992 in particular.
And because you were coming on, I had to make it look specifically like it was the Mask intro.
Yeah, because I love me a bit of Mask. You can't go wrong with Mask, can you?
You really can't. Check it out on the archives. Lee loves Mask. There we go. And you can tell it's a new year because we've also got a show plan.
I know. I've got it. I've got a digital version up on my screen right now. Checking it out. It's all good.
Yeah, I've gone for the old school Killer Rainforest and print one out. But
absolutely, who needs rainforests? If the 24th century has taught us anything, it's that there are lots of other planets to go to that have plenty of trees.
Yeah, or holodecks. So you just go onto one of those if you want to get
Yeah.
your tree.
Holographic trees, it all works.
Or if you're Boris Johnson, you just have a private garden, have a party, and say it's a work event.
Wow.
I'm not
Wow.
going there.
Awesome.
Right, Chain of Command aired in season 6 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was the 10th and the 11th episode, airing back pretty much the Christmas rundown. It was December the 14th and December the 21st of 1992, just 1 month before the debut of Deep Space Nine, which was airing in January in 1993. But I've got a question for you, my friend.
Go on.
Do you know who was the number 1 in the UK and the US singles chart for those 2 weeks?
Early 90s. I should know this. I don't, but I think you're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you. It was from a film.
Oh,
and the film has got the same name as a Jed Mercurio TV series from a couple of years ago.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
No.
Okay. Don't know. Fire away.
It was from The Bodyguard. It was Whitney Houston with "I Will Always Love You." That was the number 1 in both the UK and the US.
Wow, and that takes some going, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, that does really sort of identify that specific song with that kind of time period. That will take you back to the early 90s, if nothing else will.
Absolutely. I mean, she had a good set of pipes on her anyway, didn't she? So no
She
wonder
did.
she was number 1 in both eras. Now, a bit of sport for you.
Go on.
Lennox Lewis, who obviously wrestling fans will know appeared at SummerSlam 1992 at Wembley Stadium that year, was handed in Triple H style the WBC championship when Riddick Bowe refused to face him.
Wow. Okay.
No
I remember
way.
Lennox Lewis again. That this sort of time, I was, I just left school, just left senior school in December '92. A few months away from that. So yeah, I was very much into my boxing, my wrestling, and everything because kind of student. You just left school. You have a lot of time on your hands. You catch up with all this stuff.
Absolutely. Well, if you're into your boxing and you're into your wrestling at that point and you left school, would you like to know what the main event of WWF Primetime Wrestling was?
Primetime Wrestling. And of course, this would have been one of the very last episodes of Primetime Wrestling because Monday Night Raw took over in early January '93.
Yeah, so not DS9, we had the launch of Monday Night Raw, but the main event of Primetime was terrific Terry Taylor, not the Red Rooster, facing off against the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And I'll give you 2 guesses as to who won the match.
It was definitely terrific Terry Taylor, wasn't it?
No.
Wow.
It was the Macho Man. So there you go. There's your What Happened When to steal a show from Conrad Thompson.
Kind of sets the scene, doesn't it, of early 90s, end of 1992. Yeah.
Yeah, but 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Scary,
incredible.
isn't it?
Incredible. Yeah, I mean that makes me feel ridiculously old. I am ridiculously old, but it makes me feel ridiculously old.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I think I was 11 when this show aired.
Yeah. I mean, I was 16. So
16, yeah.
Yeah, terrifying.
Oh,
bless you.
You're still young. You're still young.
Yeah, you're only as young as you feel.
Let's not go
as
there.
old as you feel. Or anyway, let's move away from that.
The other way. Family show.
Continue.
Family show. So, what do you remember of this episode? Because it was iconic for a couple of reasons. Being really one of the now that is scary.
Yeah, all right.
That is scary. Princess and Cat. I was 2.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
let's just
that's fine.
hide that comment.
Yeah, let's hide that comment, and we'll move swiftly on.
Let's not ever put that comment back up on screen again. Thanks.
Wow.
It was just going back to what we were talking about and avoiding that.
Okay. Let's continue. Yeah.
It was known for being one of the darkest Trek episodes in history because not only was it dark in storyline, it was dark in terms of torture. Picard was just being tortured by Gul Madret.
And there were some elements of physical torture that were more implied than shown, but it was like you say, it was more psychological torture. Had some sort of similar tones to what was the episode where Riker was doing that play on the in 10 Forward, and then he was part of the play, and everyone disappeared, and he had all these things going on in his head. But very very similar to that,
Yeah.
lots of mind games involved in a very very psychological episode. Not your traditional typical Star Trek episode. Not a lot of it happened on the ship. You're kind of cut in between Picard either doing his training or actually, we'll get onto this, infiltrating the Cardassians and then being captured. You occasionally flash back to the Enterprise for some appearances by the new captain of the Enterprise, but not a lot of it really sort of no action really on the ship that you'd normally expect from a Star Trek episode.
But I think that was one of the best things about it, because of the fact, Trek back in the 90s and the early noughties, the Voyager, the DS9, Next Gen, even Enterprise to a degree, had that sort of cookie cutter mold of being story of the week and following the same format. You had your A story, you had a bit of comedic relief with Data, then you had your little finale thing at the end, but it was always Alien the Week. There was no ramifications out of it. There was nothing to make you think about anything else. Whereas this one really kind of changed the way you look at Picard, because actually he's the most tortured soul in all of Star Trek, assimilated by the Borg.
And it makes me wonder, from if you have to get your head into the universe, there was a bit of sort of a vote of no confidence in some situations in Picard after everything happened with the Borg. And if you put yourself in the story, you'd be interested to see, well, why did Starfleet want Picard to go and do that sort of stuff? Where only, sort of a couple of years earlier, he was completely assimilated by the Borg, and still technically I would have thought going through his recovery at this point. Only a couple of years later, because we see as we move forward into things like the movies of Star Trek First Contact, still lots of psychological scars there from his incident with the Borg. So interesting choice.
But even if you just go forward a few weeks to the launch of DS9 and that altercation with Cisco, where he's recounting Wolf 359, you can see he's still tortured and horrified by all of the events that were happening on.
A very deep character, which again is expanded in Picard, of course, the series that we've just seen, and we're anxiously waiting for the next season. Really good, a good storyline arc for Jean-Luc Picard there. So another great episode, and for Picard, and obviously a great performance from Patrick Stewart as well.
Talk about great performances. You've got to pick up David Warner, who is Star Trek alumni now, appeared in Star Trek V as St. John Talbot. He also appeared in Star Trek VI as Chancellor Gorkon, reprised that role in the Star Trek Klingon PC game that came out. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember a few of them, and I was gonna touch on that a bit later when we talk about the changing of the captains. I want to mention Star Trek games because I've got a kind of a link to that.
Okay, perfect. But he really just personified this evil Cardassian, didn't he? And we hadn't really seen the Cardassians at this point. They were a relatively new enemy, but meant to be up there with the Borg in terms of the big bads.
Absolutely, and again, a lot of the Cardassians that we see in different situations are just, they rely on the makeup, they rely on the fact that they look totally different, and you don't really get very good actors involved with those characters. They just look a bit stern and have the makeup on, and they're baddies because of that. But you've got someone like David Warner, who is a really good actor in one of the biggest movies of all time. He was in Titanic as almost the foot person of Kate Winslet's husband or husband to be at the time. Very interesting in a lot of good stuff. Really sort of classically trained actor, and again, as you say, very used to the Star Trek universe.
Absolutely, but one of the things as well, he was also used to Patrick Stewart.
Yes,
because back in 1965, both Stewart and Warner worked together in a production of Hamlet, and he actually praised Patrick Stewart for being such a good character actor. So to get that type of personification at that point, and so that career to be resonated
Mm.
and following through. I mean, that's a staple. And you imagine how comfortable you must be going into that sort of scenario
Yeah, yeah.
with an actor that you know. Imagine doing podcasts with somebody that
Wow.
and you bounce off people and you do that, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly the same sort of scenario.
Yeah, and I can imagine, it's a very different a different sort of field for both Patrick Stewart. I mean, Patrick Stewart had obviously been doing it 6 years at the time, but coming from sort of a classically trained stage environment, and then coming onto something which, from a serious acting perspective, a lot of people are like Star Trek. And to do that well at it, and to have a character there that you legitimately did take very seriously because of how he was portrayed, along with Patrick Stewart on the other side. I don't think this episode would have worked without two actors that had that much conviction in what they were doing.
No,
Really made you kind of brought you into the whole story.
I was trying to think about whether or not any of the other cast it would have worked for. I mean, we've seen like, Geordie being tortured in Descent. We
Mm,
saw, Night Vision with the visor and schisms when I think that was when you were talking about Riker when he's being captured and being
yeah.
tortured like that. But there is something about that character of Jean-Luc Picard that
Mm.
it just worked with him and nobody else.
Yeah, I mean, again, everyone in Star Trek were great at being the characters that they were known for. There aren't too many of them who went on to do. It's going to sound horrible, but sort of bigger and better things. They will always be known as those characters primarily. Whereas Patrick Stewart really was a level above, probably multiple levels above, in regards to being an actor, and really did. They knew what they were doing, putting him in this role.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though he only thought it was going to last a season,
Mm,
you know.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
what's really interesting is the fact that, and I only just found this out doing the research for the show, David Warner wasn't actually the original choice to play Gul Madred.
Okay.
So they had another actor who dropped out on short notice. And only a few days before production, they hired David Warner to come in and portray that character. So he hadn't even had an opportunity to learn his lines.
Wow.
Now, that just resonates
Mm,
how good he was and also
yeah.
how evil the guy is to be able
Well,
to come in and portray that character.
but again, I think in TV you can almost get away with not having learnt your lines, because you can do a very short scene and then they can cut away and they can piece together shots.
Yeah.
But this guy obviously is used to stage performance. You've got to know. I mean, you and I know this, Andy. You've got to know your lines start to finish for in a 2 hour script. And not make mistakes in that. So he's used to taking all this stuff on board, and having to be, really involved with it.
You say that. It depends if you've got a mind like a sieve and you spend your character as a fishbowl.
Yeah, okay. We'll cover that on another show, shall we?
No, we won't. No, we'll forget about that. We'll forget about that. The other character that I want to talk about, and we'll get on to the captain in a minute because I know
Mm,
that's a real bone of contention here, is Natalia Nogulich, who
okay.
plays Admiral Alina Nechayev. And that was her first appearance, and she really became the Admiral Ross of
Mm,
the Next Generation because I think with Starfleet they had so many admirals who were just
mhm.
there for 1 week and gone the next, but
Yeah.
for the remainder of that series of the Next Generation and DS9 up until the Battle of the Dominion,
Mm.
she was the admiral that you saw on screen.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Until you
And
move onto sort of Admiral Janeway territory,
yeah,
really, that's the next sort of notable one that you think of, other than these just odd people that would pop in on a week-to-week basis.
am I right in thinking she was in Insurrection?
You could be right. I'm not sure. There was definitely an admiral involved in Insurrection,
Yeah,
because
because
yeah, I remember being on the view screen and things like that. Yeah.
it was Janeway for Nemesis, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, yeah, because that was set after Voyager had
Voyager
returned.
got back, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it was that was her last appearance. If I'm right, that was Nachayev's last appearance on the TV and on the movie scene. But
Mm.
she was a ball breaker, weren't she? But you
Oh,
ended up
absolutely.
loving her by the end of it. I thought she was cracking.
Yeah, just marching into Jean-Luc Picard's ready room and oh hi, how are you? No, no time for that. Right, I've got a job for you. Straight to the heart of the matter, and no pleasantries.
Well, it was like that scene in the ready room where she's announcing that Picard is going to be relinquishing command of the Enterprise, and Captain Jellicoe is going to be taken over. And Riker, you can see Riker's backs up because he's like, hang on a minute, I'm number one. Why am I not getting command? By the fact that you passed up God knows how many opportunities to command your own ship before. So why should we still give you? And he said, I'm more than capable of doing it. She went, I don't think so. And that's it. No explanation.
Exactly. And I think, you know, in normal circumstances, someone like Riker, from a character perspective, would have been okay, you know, captaining the Enterprise, not a problem at all. But in this situation, when you learn a bit more about what's happening, and again, we'll talk about the development of Jellicoe as it goes through, and how the crew, I don't want to say start to warm to him, but start to understand why his actions are what they are. You know, that thing, at that point, I think in Riker's character, he wouldn't have been able to carry that off.
Well, let's talk about the captain. Let's talk about the transfer of command between Captain Edward Jellicoe and Captain Jean-Luc Picard, because there's two things I want to get about this. And I'm just going to go to the beginning of it, and then we'll go to the end, and then we'll talk about it in the middle. The first one is the transfer of the command. Okay. Big ceremony in 10 Forward. Dress uniforms, Picard's in the dress uniform, Jellicoe's in the dress uniform. Big thing. Let's shoot to the end of the second episode. Picard's been tortured. He's been recaptured. He's back on the Enterprise again, and they're on the bridge.
No job. Just I relinquish command back to you. Cool, thank you. I stand relieved. Bye. Job done.
Why is it good for one and not good for the other one? I don't get it.
Yeah. It does show that the differences between the two characters, and one of the things, going back to that very first scene, one of the things that sort of rings to me is almost the first encounter at Farpoint. Jean-Luc Picard was not very popular with his own crew at the time, and I think Jellicoe kind of had some shades of the original version of Captain Picard before he loosened up, before he knew everyone, and they didn't really know what his motivations were. Very, very similar as far as I can see.
Very militaristic, wasn't it? The original Picard and the original in Farpoint that you're relating to, and Starfleet was very military, a bit like what you're seeing now in Disco in season 3 and season 4 of Disco. But you're right with Jellicoe. But what was it about that character? Was he just a pompous ass, or was he there to get you back up?
I think he was, and again, putting yourself in that universe, I think he was the sort of captain that if you wanted something done with you don't care about who you're going to annoy on the way, you just want something done, that's who you throw into the situation. We learn throughout that he's got a lot of experience. He's been in certain situations before, and he does know what he's doing. You may not like the way he does it, but he does get the job done, and that's what you kind of relate to as you go on.
Now, the reason I hated Jellicoe, Lee, was very simple. He put Deanna Troi in a uniform.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things that the little things that he rubs up the wrong way. Obviously, he gets Geordie's back up, tells him he's got to work around the clock to get certain things done, to get improvements done. Data, just seeing, obviously doesn't throw any emotion into it. This is before the chip gets installed, so no emotion on the side of Data. He just says, yeah, that will work, and doesn't really care that Geordie's got to work all night. He's just confirming what Jellicoe said. Deanna Troi obviously is not happy. She's been told to go in a proper Starfleet uniform rather than the counselor outfit, as we know. And Riker obviously not happy. Lots of people really rubbed up the wrong way.
It was a real bullying tactic, wasn't it? The way he kind of, it's my way or the highway. If you don't like it, I'll just get rid of you. That was what it was. But just going back to the Deanna thing, he made her wear the uniform, but why didn't she go back into the counselor outfit afterwards?
Yeah, that's because didn't she stay in that outfit for a little while after that?
Right the way through. She never went back into. She stayed in a uniform right up until the end movie. In fact, in Lower Decks, when she's on the Titan, she's still in uniform.
Yeah.
So, wow, terrible.
You're really upset with that.
I know. That ruined the series for me. It really did.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the series. Let's talk about the episode, because we find out at the beginning that there's something happening on Celtus 3. The Cardassians are making this weapon of mass destruction that is going to destroy.
Called COVID.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to make a joke, but it's too
Oh,
soon. I'm not
sorry.
going to. No. I was going to make a joke that is not appropriate to make a joke.
I see. Okay.
Yes. You know what my jokes are like. They're never appropriate to make anyway, let alone when it's about COVID. Although I accept it wasn't a party, it was a work function. I'll get that in another couple of times if I can. There's Celtics 3. So Picard, Crusher, and Worf are now training like the SAS in the holodeck. How do they know what the caverns of Celtics 3 look like when it's an
That's a very good question.
uninhabited planet?
That is a very, very good question. Some of those things that you don't necessarily think about when you're watching the episode.
and also, why did Picard make reference to the fact that there's bats or this type of flying bird-like alien thing on the planet, but didn't program them into the holodeck?
A very good point. They wanted he wanted to have it as accurate as it could possibly be, didn't he, for the simulation? And they were timing themselves doing all these sort of test runs. But yeah, it wasn't programmed in. You're right.
Exactly. I don't know. They get captured. It realizes that it's a ruse. It's basically it's a ploy just to get Picard because of his association with the weapon from his time on the Stargazer. So poor captain, choice of command, not had the best of luck. The Stargazer destroyed, his best friend killed. Finally gets together with the best friend's widow at some point in the books, we think, or in All Good Things, an alternative timeline. Then gets assimilated by the Borg, and now gets captured and tortured by a Cardassian because he commanded the Stargazer.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds? Yeah, well, we know he still hasn't retired. Technically, he's still off on his shenanigans, even in the latest incarnation of Picard.
Well, he's an android now.
It's not technically, I was going to say, even though it's not technically him, but well, that's by the by.
But that's really much what we see in that whole 45 minutes. That first episode is the setup to the capture.
Yes, yeah. It's almost sort of part one is all about Jellicoe and him stamping his power on the crew of the Enterprise, and then by the time you get to part two, it's all about the torture scenes, the capture, and almost the redemption of Jellicoe when people realise why he is like he is, and sort of understand his character a bit more.
Yeah. Brilliant setup, because that just led us to what is really a two-person episode in the second part.
Oh, totally.
I mean,
totally.
90% of that episode is Madred and Patrick Stewart. And the one thing that I love at the end of it, and we put it up on the YouTube channel yesterday, actually, in Retro Chat Short Bites, was that last clip where he's about to be released and he's being asked again, you either get to live a life of luxury or you get to stay here. And all you need to tell me is how many lights are there being shown. And you can see Picard is about to break. You can see it.
And such good acting from Patrick Stewart.
It's then when you hear at the end of the episode where he says, "I almost said it. I believed I could see 5 lights."
Yeah, and the thing about that very last scene just before he is released is you can see Gul Madred just kind of saying, almost feeling some sympathy. You can see some sympathy in his face, because you can see how he almost has some respect for Picard, because you can see how far he is he's going to try and keep his composure, and he can see he's almost breaking. Obviously the guards are coming, and you said he'd be ready. You're like, whoa, just give him a minute, and kind of almost helping out Picard, and having a bit of a soft spot for him by the end of the episode.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if he had have said there's 4 lights. Because you often sit there and think about what would you have done. Well, you might not sit there and think about what would you have done in that situation, being held captive by a Cardassian, being, showing there's 4 lights, but not something we generally do on a day trip in pool. But you got to think, after how much of that torture could you actually take before you crack?
Yeah, I mean, again, one of those things, they didn't really go into too much detail about what the torture was, but he was clearly sort of hung up there, shackled up by his arms, and basically just left to hang there. And you could see red marks on his wrists. Yeah. He had some cuts and things on his body. So obviously some kind of more involved torture than we saw.
We had
Uh,
that pain receptor as well, didn't he? That he could
that's
press the button and
there
that
was,
would just,
it was implanted, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
So
incredible. But it just I mean, it goes down there as one of the top 5 episodes in all of Trek.
yeah,
That's
I'm
what
not
most people
surprised.
rate it for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just for that interaction between the two, and again, it's always interesting to see changes of the crew, and this is where I was going to touch on. There was a Star Trek game that I had called Starship Creator, back in the
Yeah,
day. It was on CD-ROM, and you'd basically have access to all up until that point, and this was early 2000s, I think. All of the Star Trek characters that were out there. So I think you had all of the original series, all of Next Generation, and all of Deep Space Nine. I don't think Voyager was actually on it at that point, so it might have just been the 3 series. And you got to choose any ship. You could sort of modify it whatever way you want, and then you'd build your crew up. And I always found it really interesting. 'Cause Next Generation was always my favorite.
mm,
Having someone different as the captain of the Enterprise and seeing what happened, and you could send it on missions and see how it fared with those people on board, and putting different people. Having Geordie as the first officer, and people like that, situations like that would come up, and really interesting. So I always had a bit of an affiliation with this episode because I like it when even though I love Picard, when there's different kind of personas on the bridge of the Enterprise.
yeah. Did you ever play Bridge Commander?
Yes, I did. And again, very, very difficult to play with all the little commands that you had to do, and it was kind of first person looking around. I never really got very far in it, but yeah, very, very good.
That's another episode we should do. Star Trek video games,
Oh yeah, love that.
like the old generations.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
That was that was painful, painful. Right, let's give you some other trivia, shall we? Because this is stuff you might not know. The two-parter, as we said, set the stage for DS9.
Mm.
And originally, Damon Solok was going to be Quark.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. But they decided to scrap it. But it was
Yeah.
actually filmed on the DS9 Replimat set. So it was all built, ready to go. And it
Wow.
was also meant to be a one-part episode, not a double story.
I don't know
And
how they could have done that. That they'd have had to have squeezed so much into one episode.
exactly. Well, it was actually Michael Piller, the late Michael Piller, the creative executive producer of TNG at that point,
Mm.
who suggested making it a two-person play with Golden Madred and Picard for the second part as a budget saver. It not only worked to help keep the budget under control, it made the two-parter far more memorable, which, we're still talking about it now, 30 years later, in terms of Trek.
Yeah.
Edward Jellicoe, who we talked about, of course,
Mm.
famous Ronnie Cox, famous for playing Lieutenant Bogomil in Beverly Hills Cop,
Yes.
Dick Jones in RoboCop, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
President in the 1990 Captain America film,
Oh, they were
made
great.
one appearance in Star Trek.
Oh, really? Just
That
the
was
one?
it. Just the
Wow.
one. Never appeared
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
But he played a massive part of the literature of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a great 4-part from David Mack called Star Trek Destiny,
Mm.
which is all about the Borg and their evolution and actually what happens to the Borg.
Isn't that the
And
one where
Jellicoe.
there's the 4 different books, and there's one from each series: original
Yeah,
series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and they all intertwine
yeah.
the stories. Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever read it?
I have read all of them. Yeah, I don't know where my paperbacks are, but I did have all of them.
Oh, tremendous,
Yeah, really good.
absolutely tremendous. But he dies in the literature series, not in
Yeah.
Destiny, but he dies, and it also comes out that him and Achaev and Admiral Ross are traitors.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Worth looking at some of the last Next Generation DS9 books
Yeah, yeah.
because they are that series now all wrapped up. Star Trek Coda
Mm.
has wrapped up all of the literature series. There's now going to be standalone books based during the time of the series
Okay.
because of Part Picard.
Yeah.
They can't make it canon, so they've wrapped it all up, given it a nice little bow, and put it to bed. But if you want to know more about Jellicoe, check out those books. If you want to know more about Golden Madred,
Mm.
check out those books, because in the next gen book called The Sky Limit is a direct sequel to Chain of Command.
Yeah.
And Picard captures Madred during the Dominion War and puts him in the brig.
Brilliant. How many lights are there in the brig?
450, according to the
Yeah.
technical manual.
Okay. I used to have that.
I got a new copy of it.
Oh, if they, because it was for the Enterprise D. I had
Yeah,
the copy of it with the brown
yeah,
softback cover. Yeah.
yeah. I
Wow.
went through. There's a great website called World of Books
Mm,
and abooks.com. So
yeah.
I've managed to pick up the Art of Star Trek, the Next Gen Technical Manual,
Yeah.
and the Lost series, Star Trek Phase 2.
Okay.
Some crackers, some really old school. Try and rebuild
I
the
did used to
collection.
have a copy of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. Again, just a softback version,
Yeah,
but I think it only had again up to the end of Deep Space Nine. I think if you looked up Voyager in it, it said it's an upcoming series.
yeah.
And if I'm right in saying they did release another version of it, which then included all of the Voyager stuff in it, I never got that one.
And they made it color
Oh, did they? Okay, I
as
didn't know
well.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
know
then
that.
they released it on CD-ROM, the Star Trek
Wow,
Omnipedia,
wow, did not know any
which
of that.
yeah, you see.
Fantastic.
This is why you come on the show, right? This is why you come on the show. Good conversation.
Absolutely.
Where do you think it stands? The test of time. Where do you look on it now? You know, we've had how many series now? 7 series of
7 seasons of Next Generation.
7 seasons of Next Gen. We've had the original Next Gen,
Oh,
DS9,
sorry. Yeah.
Voyager, Enterprise, Picard, Disco, Count, Lower Decks, and Prodigy. You know, we've had
Mm,
9 Trek series. God
mm.
knows how many movies. Where does this episode, in your opinion, stand now?
I mean, I'm always biased because I think Voyager is probably my second favorite series. My favorite will always be Next Generation. There's this one, there's Best of Both Worlds, and then there's Yesterday's Enterprise, which I absolutely love. Cause and Effect is another great one where they get
Oh
stuck in
yeah,
the time loop. The Enterprise keeps exploding, and then the Inner Light, of course, which happens again. Another really strong Picard episode. And again, a link to the series Picard. You can hear that the tune that he plays on the flute is kind of hinted at and almost
yeah,
sampled in the theme tune to Picard. So yeah, all of those. But this one is certainly right up there. I'd probably say top 3 for me in all of Star Trek. Certainly Next Generation. But again, because I'm so biased towards Next Generation, it's difficult for me to bring any other episodes from any other series into it.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. It's definitely up there. The Inner Light always brings a tear to my eye. That one, where he
Yeah,
starts playing the flute for various reasons. But
yeah,
you know, cracking episode. Need to do that one. Right. So that's pretty much Chain of Command
yeah, yeah, yeah.
touched on. Shall we have a look at some other bits and pieces?
Yeah, let's do it. Go for it. Fire away.
I will do if I get my mouse to work. There we go. Let's see if this works, shall we? Another new intro.
Another one. Love it.
I
Love it.
know. It's same music. I'm too cheap to go out and buy any decent music, so I just use the same music all the time.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good music.
Yeah, but it's got a bit of a beat, which is quite cool. Quite cool. Let's have a look at some news that's come out, and we're actually going to stay with the Star Trek universe, and this time talk about Prodigy, which is the Nickelodeon CGI animated property with Kate Mulgrew as hologram Janeway, is what they credit her as. It's
Right.
original, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hologram Janeway. Now, the most recent episode of Prodigy airs in the States on Paramount Plus. It's coming over here. Rumor has it February, when Paramount Plus launches in the UK, was called Kobayashi. And it was the biggest crossover in Trek history because it featured representatives from all of the original series, bar Enterprise.
Wow.
So for the original series, we had Captain Spock, Scotty, and Uhura. For the Next Generation, we had Gates McFadden reprising the role, doing whole new commentary as Dr. Crusher.
Yep.
For DS9, we had Odo, and from Voyager, we had Janeway and Chakotay. So, you know, what's that? 7 members of the Star Trek universe, alumni, in one episode.
Yeah.
And it was called Kobayashi, and it was based off the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, fantastic. And then again, if you don't remember that from any of the earlier episodes, the new Star Trek movies have feature some of that. So if you prefer your Chris Pine to your William Shatner, then far away, and you can check out what it means on there.
Well, one of the things you'd love about this episode is the holodeck that they went into, that the bridge was the D. So it
Oh,
was
okay, good.
the D bridge. It was the
Yeah.
Enterprise D with the original voiceover for the Kobayashi Maru.
Mm.
The exact that word that I
Scenario.
can't say. That's the one. Um, and footage spliced from the film. So Nichelle Nichols was reprising some of the commentary from that, which was
Yeah.
actually taken. Scotty, in his opening line to Captain Picard in the episode Relics, that's in there as well.
Mm.
And the Spot comment from Unification, where he says, "You remind me of another captain of the Enterprise." It's
So
in there.
good.
It's such an amazing episode to sit there and watch. It's only 25 minutes,
Yeah,
but it is
yeah.
just an amazing episode to sit there and watch.
So where can we watch this in the UK?
So the UK at the moment we can't.
Right.
It's coming to Paramount Plus. It should be airing hopefully in February is the rumored release date. Paramount
Mm.
Plus is going to be on Sky and separate. And it's
Okay.
also where you're going to catch up on the new Star Trek Discovery season 4.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Unless you watched it on Pluto with
um,
Baywatch.
yeah. Oh well, absolutely. Pluto, definitely check it out. Pluto TV, Homes Under the Hammer. There's a whole channel.
But you are getting old.
Anyway, yeah, I know. Back to Star Trek. One of the things I've actually seen I've seen the first episode of Star Trek Prodigy, and I was a little bit put off to begin with. I avoided checking it out because there was the Lower Decks series, which I kind of, I love my Star Trek and I always like it being taken seriously. So when I saw that there was a show that was almost not parodying it, but turning it into a sort of a comedy type show, I was like, I don't really want to watch that. And then I heard there was another animated series coming. I was like, oh no, I really don't want to check it out. So I kind of avoided it for a bit. But then I have checked out the first episode of the show, and well worth a watch. Again, it does take itself a bit more seriously again, and does feel like proper Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, Lower Decks is Family Guy.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
it's Family Guy in space, isn't it? You know,
Mm.
Boimler, and I think you have to be in a frame of mind to watch it.
Mm.
You know, when you've got a talking plate of Tom Paris, it kind of says it all, really, doesn't it? But
yeah.
it's full of Easter eggs. If you watch Lower Decks, absolutely full of Easter eggs. But Prodigy is so beautifully made
Mm.
as well in terms of the animation. And I was like you, I
Yeah.
was worried about it, thinking it was going to be too kiddie. You know,
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, you think, look what Cartoon Network did to the Thundercats and
Mm.
to Teen Titans and all that type of thing. But they've really done it with some class. So it's
Yeah.
well worth watching it.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
You're a fan of John Cena, right?
Continue.
Well, you're a fan of the WWE. We know that.
Yes, yeah, we'll do that.
No, you're not. You're a fan of DC movies?
DC movies, yes, I'm with you.
And are you a fan of the Suicide Squad?
I do like the Suicide Squad. I actually like both movies.
Really?
Controversially, yeah.
Oh, why?
Because they did what they could with them. I think that there's so much expectation for it, but I think they kind of did what they could with both of the films. So
Okay.
they're not the best films ever made, but I'm happy with them. I'm comfortable with them. I enjoy them.
I thought the second one was much better than the first one, just for the
Yeah.
violent content. I mean, Jesus, in the first 10 minutes, think about arms being blown off and heads blowing up. It was a bit violent, but it was
Yeah.
quite good. Well, John Cena is in that film. He's playing Peacemaker.
Yes.
And he's got a series on HBO Max called Peacemaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to see it?
Yeah, why not? I was like
Okay.
seeing John Cena looking stupid.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be available very soon.
Okay.
And that's the update.
Oh, okay, good.
James Gunn did an interview recently with people asking him, where is Peacemaker? And he said, I'm getting this question 100 times a day. HBO Max and I are working on this. It will be in the UK very soon, but it won't be on day and date with the US and the rest of the world. I'm sorry, I did everything I possibly could, and I'm disappointed as well.
Ah, okay. Well, at least he's working on it. That's good.
Yeah, but it surprises me though. You'd think it would be on Sky Atlantic.
Yeah. That's where a lot of them tend to end up, don't they? From that area. So, Yeah, well, I mean, well, we'll wait and see. You know, there are other means of watching it if you want to get into that sort of stuff. Not obviously recommending any of that, but we'll wait for HBO Max to make it available in the
Nice save. Very nice save.
UK.
Last bit of news before we wrap up for this week. Uncharted's Nathan Drake star Tom Holland. Tom Holland has called out Tom Cruise over comments suggesting mission. Do you want to read
Mission
it?
Impossible 7.
Yeah.
Resurrected Hollywood during the pandemic. Over at Total Film, the 25-year-old was caught praising the team behind his latest blockbuster, which also features Mark Wahlberg in the role of Victor Sullivan and Antonio Banderas as Moncada. He says, I really believe in the project. I believe in the work we've done and how very proud of how hard everyone worked. We also made this film at the height of COVID. I know Tom Cruise loves to say that he brought the film industry back, but he forgot about this little film called Uncharted that was shooting 4 months before he was. So I'm just very proud of what we've done. And if we were lucky enough to do it again, it would be really exciting. We've only scratched the surface of what Drake and Sully can do.
You're going to go see it? You saw the trailer at Spider-Man.
I did. I'm not sure. I'm not going to rush to be honest with you. I might wait until it comes out for on demand or on a streaming service somewhere. It's not a huge one for me, to be honest. I mean, even the Mission Impossible movies have kind of lost it a bit for me. There's each Mission Impossible movie that comes out, it seems to devolve into a bit of a parody of itself the longer it goes. Like the first three were brilliant, and then after that they just started to slowly dip in quality and almost as I say, a bit of a parody of themselves now.
Bit like the Fast and the Furious franchise, really, isn't
I,
it?
I was trying not to liken it to that, but it is very much you can drive a car off the top of a mountain and then it just lands nicely on its wheels like 400 foot below. Ugh.
No. Well, you can go see it. Uncharted is released in the UK cinemas on February the 11th and in US cinemas on February 18th. One film you're not going to be seeing anytime soon is Morbius, because that's been delayed again.
Oh, has it?
Another
Wow,
3 months.
I didn't. What was the reason for that?
There is no reason.
Okay.
They've not released the reason yet, but the rumors are an Andrew Garfield scene being put in.
Yeah, okay, that would kind of make sense. That would work. Because interestingly, I was at Smith's Toys last night with my little
Other
one
toy
looking at
stores
some
are
things.
available.
Yeah, they are. Not many of them, but there are.
It's called
And
Amazon.
they've got this whole section of Marvel figures and these real sort of 20, 25 quid, really high quality, like Marvel Legends figures. They've got some from What If, some of the zombie versions of characters. They've got a load of different versions of characters through the Avengers saga. But they also have Morbius figures. They've already been released and they are out there. And again, probably about 20 quid worth. Really nice, decent quality figures. So they've already released that. But the movie, I mean, maybe things were put in place that were reversible in relation to the toys before the movie was delayed. But interesting. You can get the toys way before the movie comes out now.
Well, you can play the battles between Spider-Man and Morpheus all you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until it comes out. Again, I'm not overly sold on it, to be honest, that film, seeing the trailer for it.
No, I mean, again, I think I was... I really couldn't see what they were going to do with Avengers after Endgame, seeing as all of the big characters were sort of disappearing and going their different ways. But Marvel seemed to be kind of resurrecting it and bringing people back. Amazing thing they've done as a bookend that they've done with now Spider-Man. Shang-Chi I really enjoyed. I wasn't expecting to. I haven't watched Eternals yet, but again, they are sort of trying to tie together all of these characters. When Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor get back into the mix, I think it could be an interesting time again. They've got a long way to go to kind of beat that initial first Avengers Infinity Saga run.
Now, one of the things that's been heavily talked about on Ministry over the past few months is Princess McCann watching the MCU from the beginning, and Lawrence spoiling it. Did she carry on watching the films?
No. We we've watched Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and then we moved on to Thor. I think it was, wasn't it? Thor dives in there, the first Thor film.
Yeah.
And we got sort of 2/3 of the way through that, and then we were sleepy. We went to bed, and then it was shortly after that that Lawrence said, "Oh yeah, no, of course, Tony Stark dies in Endgame," and she was mortified, and so was I, because now she can't have that same enjoyment of watching those films in order, and you know, and sort of
He
having the
needs
same surprises.
he needs a forfeit for that, mate. He needs to do
He
a
does,
forfeit.
yeah, we should. I mean, I do bring it up at every opportunity.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Well, we'll have an opportunity to put it to him together next week, because both you and Lawrence are joining me right here on Retro Chat Live.
We certainly are. I don't know if you've teased it or announced it at any point before now, but 30 years ago, something pretty special happened.
Yeah, play for the
There we
gold.
go.
To Royal Rumble, and we're going to be looking back at the event 30 years to the date.
Amazing.
Next Wednesday. I can't wait, because it is literally one of the greatest Royal Rumbles of all time.
It is, yeah. And again, if you look at the people that were in that Rumble, each and every one of those people in that Royal Rumble was, at the top of their game, or was on their way up, or had been at the top of their game at one point. It was just full of superstars all the way through. And yeah, it really was the Ric Flair show. It was also the Bobby Heenan show, as we know. Probably Bobby Heenan's greatest moment with all of the the commentary he added throughout, and how he reacted. And we'll talk about that more next week.
Absolutely can't wait. It's going to be Lawrence's debut on Retro Chat, and for us doing a show for the first time since 13 years ago.
Wow, that's
doing
terrifying,
a full
isn't it?
show.
A full proper show.
Not a segment, a full show. 13 years. Of course,
Amazing.
if you want to listen to Martin and Miller and you and me and Lawrence, then check out MOS Classics every Friday on the podcast feed for Ministry of Slam.
100%. Yeah, we're releasing shows that happened 12 years ago. I want to say to the day, but it's not. It's to the week, essentially. So yeah, if you want to listen to it, you just got to the point where Lawrence, Martin, and Simon have debuted on the show along with me and Andy. Yeah, really good times. Interesting to listen back to. So check it out.
Yeah.
Andy, one thing I want to ask you.
Yes.
Now one of the things I really loved about the Royal Rumble '92, and I want you to get this in place for next week. WWE were always very good in that sort of era at having their own music for things. The music for the Royal Rumble, they'd have it in the closing credits if needs be, and all that kind of stuff. They had a piece of music in the closing credits of the Royal Rumble 1992, and it was played over the top of a load of still frames of the event. And that music, I love that music, because it was just so kind of non-WWE at the time.
Okay.
The only music you would hear would either be a wrestler theme tune or a theme tune for a show, or whatever. But this wasn't the normal Royal Rumble theme. They had that at the start of the show, but this end music, I'd never heard it before, never heard it again since. See if you can get that. I'm not sure whether or not it might end up as a strike on YouTube, though. That's the only problem. But it's fantastic, a fantastic bit of music, and just on the slideshow of the Royal Rumble.
What we'll do is, if we can't play it on the live because of the strike, we'll add it to the podcast.
There we go. That will work.
There you go. There you go.
Good. Thank you very much,
Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming back on. First Retro Chat for you of 2022, and hopefully going to see you a lot more during the year. We've still got Knight Rider to cover, the 2000 reboot.
Yes,
so
we
we'll
do.
be looking at that in the near future as well. Good luck for this Sunday for Big Time
Thank you
Live.
very much. Lots of stuff. I mean, as we finish now, I've got a load more pre-production work to do on the show. So I'm going to be getting my head down and doing some of that ready for Sunday. It's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to join Lee and Lawrence, you can do this Sunday live at 7:00 on the MOS Network family. All you need to do is follow them somewhere on social media. And that could be Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, at the MOS Network. And I'm sure it will just pop up and it will say watch. And you click watch.
Yeah, if you're old school, you can check out, we've always been on Twitch. You can check out twitch.tv/the MOS Network, YouTube, youtube.com/the MOS Network, pretty much everywhere /the MOS Network. But primarily, those are the two biggies, Twitch and YouTube. We're going to be going live there at 7 p.m. on Sunday. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody who's joined us live. Thanks for those who have
Absolutely.
joined us in the chat room. Head of Steel, Princess McCat, to name but a few. And to you, my friend, thank you so much for joining us.
My
That's it
pleasure.
for us this week at the Retro Chat podcast. We will see you next Wednesday live, 8 o'clock, for a flair for the gold. A look back at the 1992 Royal Rumble. Until then, gonna do it. I haven't used this for like 13 years. See you at the matches.